Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of The Huddle. We're connecting everyday leaders. I'm Brian Nunez, and I'm joined with a very special guest, Duane Carlisle. Thank you so much for being here today, man.
Thank you for having me.
Duane is a teacher, a speaker, a coach, father, husband, and just an absolute high performer. He works with everyone from professional athletes, NFL athletes, referees, business executive, and people looking to improve their life. CoachCarlisle.com. CoachCarlisle.com is where you're going to find a lot more information on him. But we're excited today as we talk about with every one of these shows. You know, they're real people, real stories, real results, and that's the exciting part. And so, Duane, I'm excited to have you on here today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you've got so much knowledge, so much insight. Before we get into it, we're going to do a quick little rapid fire. I officially met you. We officially met this year.
Yeah.
I've known Duane though for years, been in the industry, obviously, training my whole life, but really as a coach, last 15 years. And I remember I'll never forget the first day you came in here. It was January this year. One of our coaches comes up and says, "Yeah, there's a guy downstairs. His name's Duane Carlisle." And I thought he was joking around, like, Duane Carlisle is not here. He's not downstairs. It was a night class, and sure enough, man, you were downstairs. You got connected through a mutual friend,
yeah.
And we've had, it's been great to just know you. Somebody I looked up to for so long and continue to look up to, and the stuff you're doing. So it's cool, man. I think it's all connected at the right time.
Yeah, man.
I think I was ready to meet you. The student is ready for to meet the teacher. So before we get started, Duane, we do a little something. We do a little rapid fire.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna go some rapid fire. Yvonne, you gonna have my timer? You do the timer? Okay, perfect.
Timer.
So just a little bit about you. You can even let me see it on the 60 seconds. We're gonna do this or that questions.
Okay.
So the people before they talk a little bit about your story, we want to know a little about you. Just answer one or the other. We're gonna go as many as we can get through. I got like 2 pages of this.
Right.
So we got what,
Lightning
60
fast,
seconds?
baby.
We need
Lightning
exactly.
fast.
Exactly.
All right.
We're gonna put you to the test. Okay. This or that. Ready?
Yeah.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
Phone call or text?
Text.
Lead with the heart or lead with the head?
Lead with the heart.
Okay, I love it. Toast or eggs?
Toast.
Cardio or weights?
Weights.
Facebook or Twitter?
Twitter.
Speed or strength?
Speed, man.
While walking, music or podcasts?
While walking, music or podcast?
Were you walking?
Podcast.
Okay. Form or function? When the coach is in a tough spot.
Function. Yeah.
They want to say both. They can't pick one.
Yeah.
Cake or pie?
Pie, man. Apple pie.
Swimming or sunbathing?
I don't want to say neither, but swimming.
Big party or small gathering?
Small gathering.
Rich
10
friend
seconds.
or loyal friend? I'm going to keep going on this. I'm going to go 90
Friend,
seconds
a
on
loyal
this one.
friend. Loyal.
Hamburger or taco?
Burger.
Email or letter?
Letter.
Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Money or free time?
Money, man.
Like
oxygen.
Save or spend?
Save.
Honesty or others' feelings?
Honesty, straight up.
Always.
Yeah.
We said the same
Yeah.
thing before. Working alone or working on a team?
Team.
Peanut butter crunchy or creamy?
Creamy.
Okay. Oh, what?
Yeah, man.
Crunchy guy, man.
Yeah.
Last question. When you sleep, fan or no fan?
Oh, no fan. I'll get
No fan?
Yeah.
I am 50 degrees, AC,
Oh, man.
fan. I'm like,
We couldn't be roommates.
no way, man. I always tell people when I'm on the road traveling, I'm like, I hope you like sleeping in an Arctic cave because this thing is about to get cold.
Man, no. Oof.
No, you don't like it cold.
Yeah,
You
no,
sleep.
that's like me and my wife. She likes cold and I like warm.
Yeah.
Yes.
My wife's the same way. She doesn't like it cold. Awesome, perfect, man. Good little insight on you. See, I always learn new stuff about people when we go through this. And I'm like, damn, really?
Yeah.
We're never on the same page. So Duane, just first off, why don't you tell us a little about your story. First question I want to ask you is, you've done so many things, man. You've been in this industry for so long. And when I talk about industry, I'm not just talking about the fitness industry. You've been in the fitness industry, the sports performance industry, the personal wellness and development. I mean, it's all wrapped up into what I always think of it as personal development and coaching. And so, talk to me first before we get into a little more of your story. How did you get started in this field?
Ooh. Here's how I got started. Mike Wojcik, who was a college strength coach at Syracuse University, and he was the jumps and throws coach at Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he worked with football then too.
Mm-hmm.
He was recruiting me when I was in high school. And I remember the first discussion we had, first intro, he told me that he was a strength and conditioning coach. And I was like, strength and conditioning? I didn't
And
know
when was
strength
this?
and This is 1980-ish.
Okay.
Early, man.
Not at all what it is like today.
No, not at all. Not at all, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, strength and conditioning coach, what in the world is that? So he kind of planted the seed, introduced me to the field. I didn't end up going to Syracuse. However, I ended up going to Boston University.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a freshman, Mike Boyle was the strength coach at BU.
Okay.
And ironically...
So that's how you connect
Yeah,
with
so
Got it.
you have no idea what's going on, right?
Yeah,
When you're coming into school. And Mike, first year at BU, was my freshman year at BU. And my track coach went to Mike and said, hey, look, take this guy under his wing. And Mike took me under his wing. He threw me in a group with some of the football players.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked. And that's how I got connected with Mike. And that's how I got introduced to the field.
And what were you studying?
Well, at the time, when I was at BU, I went to BU my first 2 years, and then I transferred to University of Maryland.
Okay.
At the time, I was in economics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you stayed. What did you transfer? You stayed.
I transferred and stayed with econ, but then I took my first coaching class as an elective when I was at Maryland.
Yeah.
It was called Theory of Coaching Track and Field, taught by Frank Costello, who was also a premier strength and conditioning coach. He was the Washington Capitals strength coach, but in addition to that, he headed up University of Maryland's kind of sports performance strength and conditioning department.
Yeah.
He taught the class, and it was phenomenal, and it introduced me to a whole different world in terms of programming and how to look at strength and conditioning.
So what did you see yourself doing before? You're in school for econ. What did you see yourself? Like, what was your path in your head then?
Okay, so when I transferred from BU to Maryland, my path was to be a financial investor.
Okay.
So I took an internship with this company called Wheat First Securities, and I worked as a junior financial intern.
Yeah. I didn't know this. Yeah.
Yeah, so I that was kind of my path.
Yeah.
And then when I took this class and I got introduced to training, I formed a group that summer, a training group. I called it LOD, Lords of Discipline. And I basically told a bunch of athletes in different sports, hey, we're going to have a strength and conditioning group this summer that I led.
Yeah.
And we all had nicknames, right? We gave each other nicknames.
Yeah.
There were 8 of us. We worked a summer job, and then we met at the track. And I organized the workouts and training sessions based on what I learned. And then that's when I developed a really strong relationship with Frank Costello, and he started giving me workouts, and that's kind of how it kick-started.
So then at what point were you like, you know what? Because you're still probably at that point, you're doing this as, this is my, not so much hobby, I enjoy doing this, my passion, but you thought, well, but this is going to be my security long-term financial advising. But you kind of went at that. So when did you feel like saying, you know what, I'm going this route instead of this route?
So I started taking more courses. And when I transferred, I had to sit out a year. So I had 5 years of school.
Yeah.
4 years of eligibility to
Yeah.
complete in 5 years. So then I picked up physical education as a major. Like once I took his class, I was hungry. I wanted to learn more and more and more and more. And at that point, I started thinking about coaching. But given my script, I didn't really see coaching as a path to get to where I wanted to go career-wise. I just didn't at the time.
And what was a big part of that script? Was it, I don't see the financial gain because, it's way different than then, way different than it was then than it is now, right? So what was it where it's like part of your script that was like, I don't see myself making a lot of money, or
Sure.
what was that?
So part of the script was financial, right? I didn't see making a lot of money.
Yeah. You loved it, but you just didn't see that.
Part of it was my home scripting, right? Just growing up, you're conditioned to think a certain way. You go to college, and you're not going to college to get a job as strength and conditioning coach. You're going to college
For sure.
to, at the time, pursue a career path that's going to be more financially rewarding, right?
Secure, stable,
That's what I knew. So as time went on, I started taking more and more classes, and I picked up another major in physical education. My first job, however, was with a computer company out of college as a computer sales rep. This company called General Analytics Corporation, which was based out of McLean, Virginia.
Okay.
And I was with them for all of 3 months.
And you just you loved every second of it.
I mean, it was tough, man. Like back in the day, like I'm unpacking a computer, man, and putting it together, just parts and stuff. And that was part of my training. But I got a phone call. 3 months into this thing from my head track coach at University of Maryland, who's deceased. This guy was super influential in my life, and he calls me. He was like, "Hey, Carlisle, man," that's how he talked. He's like, "Carlisle, I got a job for you, man." And I was like, "Is what?" He goes, "I got a job for you, man. You want to coach at Penn State?" And I was like, "Coach at Penn State?" I go, "Coach, why do you go sprints and jumps, man?" He had talked to Harry Groves, who's this legendary track coach, who was looking for a young up-and-coming coach that he could kind of mold, right, and that was hungry. And so Torpy told him about me, and
that was it.
I got the job as a sprint coach. I was 23 years old at Penn State, full-time position.
Yeah.
And that kind of kick-started.
Packed up your last computer.
Packed it up, man.
I'm out of here.
Packed it up.
So here's what I love, and I want to talk about this part because the story then is the same 20 years later, for especially that we see now in a lot of young kids, right? There's the story. I got to do this, and we're still conditioned the same way. Job stability, this is what's safe, this is what's secure, this is what I know. I know these numbers in this career path, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know it in that spot, right?
No.
You didn't even know what could be possible. I asked you the question, lead with the head, lead with the heart. Your most dynamic answer was, lead with the heart.
Yeah.
That's one of those situations that it makes no sense here, right? Like when you were going to, it makes to your story, it's not checking okay, these boxes of making money, doing this, but it checked every box here.
Yeah.
I'm fulfilled, I love it, I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
And it's obviously from that's the seed that I wanted to ask that first question, is because that's to where you're at now today with a lot of success. And so how important do you think, let's just talk about that real quick. How important do you think it is, and just and it doesn't matter what stage you're at. It doesn't matter if you're 22 years old, you're 50 years old, you're 60 years old, 35, to just listen to that voice in your heart. Like when you're talking to people, how important is that?
All right. I'm going to give you another story.
Okay, good. I like this.
To answer that question. So after my career, or my tenure at Penn State, the last year, the NCAA passed a policy. It was part of a cost containment package. At the time, the NCAA thought the costs of athletics were getting way out of control. Well, they were way out of control then. Think about what they are now.
Yeah.
In any event, they reduced the coaching staff across the board. So in track and field, they reduced it from 3 full-time coaches to 2. I was on the men's side.
Yeah.
So my position was being downgraded to what was called a restricted earnings position, which meant that you wouldn't get benefits anymore. You'd be paid a fixed amount. So this is after 4 years at Penn State, right? I was devastated. And I was looking for other positions. Stuff wasn't coming up. The supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Because they reduced the positions, the demand
Just
was
got so much
high,
harder in the market.
and more experienced coaches were getting those type of jobs, even though I was considered an up-and-comer. Well, after that, I was kind of floating. Looked at the personal training industry, did a little internship with the Redskins, just trying to find my footing again.
Mm-hmm.
And I had knee surgery. So I'm at University of Pennsylvania, going through my rehab, and this guy sitting next to me, his name was Carl Jablonski. Carl was a vice president of a supermarket chain called Acme Markets. So big back on the East Coast. And he said, "Hey, you seem like a really sharp guy. Would love to offer you a position as in our management training program," right? Mm-hmm. So it was starting at the time, it was like $28,000. I was making $19,000 when I left Penn State as a track coach. I was like, $28K,
yeah,
man, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I enrolled in this management training program. Part of the way the program was set up, you had rotations, right? So there I was, my first rotation, front end, customer service representative, right? So you're working the front end. And then I had to go to cashier. Here's an interesting thing that happened. So I was on the front end, and I was part of working the front end, being cashier, right? You just got to do your deal. And this lady says to me, she goes, "Oh, you just seem like such a nice young man. It's a shame that you didn't go to college." And I was like, wow. No, she didn't. I got my degree, but it was perception. I learned a lot about perception that day. So that stuck with me, okay? So as I'm going through the program, the thing that I began to experience was I was in management, and the other people who were department heads were unionized employees, and it was like Hatfields and McCoys. Mm-hmm. Some of them wanted to embrace me, some of them didn't.
Yeah.
Because I was in the management program.
Yeah.
So I went through all these different departments, and at the time, I became so conflicted with what I wanted to accomplish, with where I was, that I said, man, you know what? I gotta really pursue what I want to pursue. So I started putting together this camp at my high school. And I was going through this program in Jersey. The camp was up in Boston. I started putting together this camp. It was called the Peak Performance Camp. And this camp was a multidisciplinary camp that focused not only on improving athletic performance, but there was a sports psych component. There was a educational component. There was a leadership component.
Yeah.
This is 1994. Mike Boyle was part of it. Mike was always been...
And people weren't talking like they were even about it today at all.
They weren't even talking about it, right? So I started this camp. And while I was working, so on weekends, I drove up to Massachusetts to promote my camp, came back, and I was in the grocery world, right? And a week before my camp, it's talking about lead with the heart. A week before my camp, I said, you know what? I took off my apron, my blue apron, and I went to the store manager and I said, this is not for me. I was in the floral department at that time. I just that was just it.
Yeah.
So I went to him, gave him my apron. I said, sir, thank you for the opportunity. He's like, what am I going to tell Carl? I go, if you could just tell, I'll contact Carl, but I'm going to pursue my passion. And that weekend, I drove up to Massachusetts for my camp. I had Kajana Carter, who's the first pick in the NFL draft.
Yes,
I had all these athletes who I had trained at Penn State and helped prepare for the combine that came back to support my camp. Sam Gash, who was an NFL Pro Bowler, he was playing for the Patriots. He supported my camp. And I went up and we did this camp. It was $20. I had 18 kids that paid $20, and then on top of that, I didn't know where to get anybody else, so I went to my middle school. My middle school principal, who was the AD, basically went to the kids and said, hey, look, I want you guys to go to this camp. We inflated the numbers up to 50, and away we went. So I don't know if that answers the question.
It does, man, and it's 2 points.
Yeah.
It's one was the computers. I should do this. And then the heart drew you into something else.
Yeah.
That got cut off, so then you went back to the story.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm in this team manager role. And then what drew you, your heart was constantly tugging at you, right? There's that conflict, like you said.
Yeah.
So at that point, which I think it's good for a lot of people, because what happens is that how long were you in that management position? When you were
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
But at 9 months, it allowed you to see what you knew you didn't want
to do. Exactly.
And how important is that for people?
It's huge, man. It's huge. It's huge.
So huge, right?
It's huge.
So it's not a waste. A lot of times, it's a waste of time.
No.
That's just as valuable.
That was
right?
That was more valuable.
And to see, like, I know for sure I can. You know, it's like when we're writing goals and when we're sitting down all the time, it's so important to put down all things you know for sure you don't want to get them off the table.
Yeah.
So you don't have to ever second guess, well, what will I be right now as a manager in this company?
Yeah, don't forget those either. Like, those things need to be right next to what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Right next to your goals, because oftentimes, man, if things aren't working out, then you start hedging. Well, maybe I should have did this.
Yeah. And that's where you just keep betting on yourself, keep believing, keep having faith that passion. And a lot of times, what happens, I think you can ask. This is what I love about speaking with everyday leaders, is because they didn't have massive success to the world at the very beginning. It was having to pioneer something different, create a new story in life that wasn't the path that maybe every single person went on. They had to go through some things that just logistically didn't make sense, but they followed their heart. And I think in those two situations, you've experienced that. So so now you do the camps. Was this it? Were you full-time? I'm full-time headed down this road.
After I did the camps, I came back to New Jersey, and I'm gonna tell you this. After I did the camp, I was driving back, and I stopped at a movie theater, pulled out all my change, because back in the day it was all payphones, right?
Yeah.
And I called my wife, and I just broke down sobbing. I just started sobbing. She was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Babe, we did it." She didn't attend the camp. I was like, we did it. To be able to take that vision and the thing that was birthed in your spirit and to put it into manifestation so that other people could touch it.
Yeah.
They could touch the vision. Because what people don't realize oftentimes is that you might have something in your mind that you want to accomplish, but until you put things in motion and someone can actually physically touch it, then they can experience it and then they can share in that vision. And so that was just it was just me releasing it was joy, right? But you're just releasing all that. What do you have? The pain and frustration and all those things that you go through when you're trying to push something forward that's inside of you.
You unlock your passion,
Yeah.
which allows you to become free.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love the way you put that. Yep.
And so many times we have this lock on our heart. We don't listen to it. When we unlock it, the passion flows out, and we're able to, that call was about being free, so then you can go 100 miles an hour, not second guessing. Now this became on the same page as this, as opposed to this was the leading one, right?
And one of the things I wanted to mention as well is my father was born and raised in Alabama, served in the military, moved from Alabama up to Massachusetts to provide a better environment for my family, or for his family, for us. Mm-hmm. I was the oldest. And so my father was collecting the registrations that were coming in for the camp, right? As I mentioned to you, we were in the teens in terms of signups. And my dad said, "This idea is not going to work." His scripting was very different than my scripting, right? And so he didn't say it to be malicious. He was just like, he was scripting.
That's what his program was.
Hard work, right? He was programmed, benefits, hard work, this, that. Someone's going to pay for training? My dad didn't get that part of it, which he shouldn't. But I'd seen something different. And one of the things that I learned from that this is part of the sobbing, is that as I shared with my dad, I said, "Dad, you poured into us, you poured into me so that we could see things differently than how you saw things. Mm-hmm. And I think there's opportunity here. I've seen it." And I was like, the show was Barnum Bailey Circus. The show must go on. Even in spite of him going to the registration, I call him up, "Dad, how many we got? 2. How many we got? 1. How many we got?" The show had to go on, and you still had to continue to follow the dream. And fast forward, that was the platform, and that was the launching pad for me to be able to achieve things that I never ever thought. I would have been able to accomplish.
And I think those ones, I love the story. I think so many people, I can definitely relate to a lot of that. I think that struggle in the very beginning, it tests one thing, it tests our passion.
Sure.
It's easy to be passionate when everything's are easy, right? When it comes in, we're flowing, things are good. But like you said, when things doesn't work out, well, let me resort back to this. Well, then you weren't really that passionate about it at the beginning, to stick with it. So I think that piece is huge. What didn't matter, and this is what I love and talk about coaches with all the time, and I know you talk about the same thing when you're presenting, as you present to thousands and thousands of coaches throughout your career, is it doesn't matter if there's one person in the room or 1,000 people in the room. Mm-hmm. You gotta deliver the same thing.
No doubt, man.
And over time, people will see it. because what they're really looking at, there's a lot of people looking on the outside who never signed up for those camps, but they're looking to see, I want to see how this goes. Not, well, is he giving a great experience only when there's 100 people there, and he's somebody different when there's 2 people there. You're looking at that consistency, right? And that's by you investing in that passion so early on and not questioning your vision or your faith. Would you say that was a big part of a catalyst moving you forward?
Wow. Absolutely. This past May, I was inducted into my high school athletic hall of fame. And it was the inaugural class that consisted of 11. One of those people that went in was my high school athletic director. He was a football coach at the high school. He was a track coach at the high school. This guy was influential in so many people's lives. Mm. And when I got on stage, my only goal was to honor him. Because this guy, he set a standard that basically says it's not okay to be okay, right? And he supported my camp. So he's the one who gave me the venue, didn't charge me anything to run the camp at the high school. And right before I went up on stage to accept my award, Coach O said, not right before, but when we were mingling, he said to me, that camp that you put on, he said, I didn't really know what it was about. He said, but that was one of the best camps. Here he is, 79 years old, saying that to me. That camp made an impression on him. And for me, going up on stage, it was to honor my father, and it was to honor him, because oftentimes we forget how we got to where we are.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's key and it's pivotal to make sure that those people that paved that way for us and gave us that opportunity, we got to honor them. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what I felt in my spirit.
Yeah, it's huge, right? I truly believe the word self-made. I was never a big fan. I've never been a fan of this. I'm self-made.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't think your parents helped you. People opened doors like this coach. They helped where you're to get to the certain level. And at the root of what I believe from a leadership quality is that humility, right? And
sure.
That's why you're sitting here, why I look up to you, why I've always looked up to you for so many years before I've known you, is you really are a humble servant leader. And so I want to actually kind of talk about that. I want to talk about some of the attributes, some of the characteristics. I think that so many times people see Duane Carlisle, or they'll see somebody, right, and they see kind of just this resume of all the amazing stuff you're doing, work with the NFL, these athletes, and they see that what success. What I want to talk about is this how. What's the characteristics? Like, what do you focus your energy on every single day? Where do you put that, put those systems in place for yourself that you're able to just keep going? So you still have the same drive and same mentality of recreating. I think this is important. Recreating the struggle, because as I know you, from what I know you now, when you tell me the story, to me, I'm like, this guy operates the same way. You're taking podcasts, you're learning, you're in a brand new space, you're in a brand new transition. You're taking that same approach of figuring it out, just as you did how many years ago to now, So that's what I want to share. What are your, these are must-dos. This is the how you operate, I'm not saying it's the universal truth. I just want you to share what's Duane Carlisle's truth when it comes to how you operate as a leader.
Okay, so first and foremost, it starts with my priorities, right? And my priorities are God, my family, so my wife, my kids, and then
priorities are values, right? Was what you value most.
And then it then dovetails into my professional life, because here's what I believe, and this is what I've come to know. I'm always amazed with people who are able to contribute so much to a profession by way of their knowledge, by way of their expertise, by way of just the things that they're passionate about, and how they are able to just inject and infuse their knowledge to so many. It always amazes me, because I know in my life, your husband, your father.
To be a 10.
To be a 10, man. Tough. I mean, it's tough. And this day and age, particularly with the positions that I have most recently held, so much is asked of you. And very few care about those other aspects of your life. All they care about is, hey, what are you going to contribute
for that bucket,
to this area of your life?
Yeah.
We're paying you X, Y, and Z. We've hired you to do this, this, and that. That other stuff,
it's not
that's on your own. That's not our deal, right? So as a man, as a person, as an employee, as a woman, you have to manage that other aspect and make sure that you're a rock star in those areas in terms of being the best husband, being the best father that you can be, right? And the number one thing I've learned is we all fall short. We're gonna miss the mark, right? We can't be great in every area, but it's a matter of understanding that I'm not gonna be great in these areas, but investing time to be good in those areas. Because Stephen Covey, right, talks about beginning with the end in mind, and he gives that analogy of, let's pretend that you are eulogizing your own funeral. What would you say about yourself?
Yeah.
And when you start to write that out, right, you start looking at it, you're like, I don't want to say that I was a former NFL head strength and conditioning coach, or that I was inducted in my high school Hall of Fame. No, those things aren't going to matter. You write it out. You start writing out
about how you lived your
life.
life.
How I lived my life. Man, my wife and I had a great relationship. My kids, I was a loving father, and I helped to create an environment that was supportive for them. And support doesn't necessarily mean that I was able to bring in the financial wealth so that we could live a certain lifestyle. Your kids don't really care about that. They care about the time. And so it brings me to this point. I have a son that played football at Notre Dame. I saw him play 6 times in his career when he was in college, 6 times, because I was coaching. And I spent so much time around other people's kids as it related to being physically present to see them perform, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't there for my own son as much as I would like to have been. Now, of course, did he understand my dad's a coach and this, and that? I get it. But it went by like that.
Yeah.
It just went, boom, he's gone. Career, it's over. Those times I don't get back. So my middle son, being able to see him play at San Jose State, it's been a blessing. It's awesome to be able to be in the stands. And I was in a class. I was in a editing class on Sunday, and he called me. He said, "Dad, I'm starting." And it was 11 o'clock. My class went from 10 to 6. He called me at 11. The game started at 2. I got in my car.
I love it.
At 1, I was gone, man. I was just sitting in there eating my popcorn. But I think that when you look at, oftentimes it's been said, how you do one thing is how you do all things.
Yes.
And so when you look at your life, you got to make sure that you're contributing equally in all areas that you deem as important to you, to ensure that there's fulfilled. Because my spirit gets vexed. Like if I'm spending so much time working, and I'm not spending that quality time with my wife, I'm not spending that quality time with the kids, I'm vexed. I'm not right.
Yeah.
And
there's an off balance, and that's what we look at is, we talk about the 4 points of balance, right? It's self, it's relationships, it's career, and it's community. In those aspects, right? Where are you? If there's a massive tilt, and then you can only do so much. You can only maximize one thing so much,
right.
And then you sacrifice others. What I love hearing is that awareness, man. It's so inspiring, man, and that's why I love learning from people like yourself. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I think about a lot of the same things where and boy, already it's flown by so much.
quickly.
So it's to have the insight, to have the awareness, which is something that I want you to talk about a little bit, because I know this of you, and I would love for you to share the importance of, what self-awareness means to you and how much you invest. You still invest so much time. I mean, I get so stinking inspired, man, as a leader, how much time you spend on education, on learning new skills, on learning new systems, ways of doing things. And I think that from what I know of you, that definitely aids in your self-awareness, which allows you to take more control of different aspects of your life, or understand where you're really at on that balance scale.
Sure.
But I would love, just share, as people watching this, to understand that from a leader, how much time you spend on continuing to be a student?
Well, I will say this. In different positions that you hold reveals different elements of where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. And sometimes those are made apparent in, let's say, a performance assessment or management performance assessment that your direct report is preparing for you or evaluating you on. Sometimes it's made apparent by when you develop that sensitivity to others, you start to ask questions and really elicit feedback about, hey, what is it that I'm doing well? How can I best serve you?
Yeah.
Right? How can where am I falling short in helping you to get to where you want to go? So you start to begin to see those things, right? Because I'm going to be the first to sit here and say I'm not perfect by any means. And every day I'm challenged by something, right? It's about overcoming self oftentimes. So one of the things I did when I was at Purdue University is I was forming a new department. There's different challenges that occur because now you're working at a university setting, and I'm interacting with so many different people within an athletic department, and then there's so many different people outside the athletic department that you're interacting with and so forth. And I had to step my game up, man. I just started feeling that there's certain things I had to get better at.
Yeah.
So I joined the John Maxwell mentorship program, and that's been phenomenal. Became certified as a teacher, speaker, and coach, and started to learn different techniques around how to influence, how to lead. John Maxwell talks about great leaders develop other great leaders,
100%.
right? John Maxwell talks about leading is not just about leading yourself, but it's helping to lead others and investing in others, right?
Yeah.
So you develop a whole new perspective, and it's a paradigm shift in terms of what you're really there to do. You know what I'm saying? What my
What's the
role
purpose?
is?
Yeah,
What's the purpose?
Yeah, exactly.
And you start looking at that purpose. It's oftentimes it's bigger than yourself, but it's having those skills, those soft skills to be able to develop that. And in the different environments that I've been in, certain when you come up, and if you haven't learned those skills, then you're limited.
Yeah.
Right.
It limits your impact.
Yeah. Exactly.
It limits
Yeah.
exactly how to the next level of people that you can affect, that you can touch, and you need certain skill sets, whether that's learning how to speak, learning how to be on stage, learning how to connect with a crowd, learning how to. It's just like any coach who starts off as a trainer. You
Right.
got to learn the body. You got to learn before you can lead 500 people in a workout. And so I think, and so hearing that from not just now, but seeing that so much from you as well, I think that's one of the biggest things that I would look at and say, man, this guy is a student. When I look at you, one of the biggest things I call is like, you are such a constant student, and that's why you're able to lead so much.
And again, like I said, John Maxwell, right? I like to try to attack. If I'm gonna invest in something, I want to learn, and first and foremost, it's realizing what you're not good at in areas you need to grow. And I have a strong interest right now in photography and videography. That's something I'm passionate about, and I'm diving in, and I'm trying to learn it, and I'm experimenting, and we've got video equipment all over the place, and I'm trying to figure that out. It's something that I like. Now, on a business side, you can say, hey, is that the best and highest use of your time? You need to maybe hire a business person or a video person to be able to handle that area, and you got to focus on the bigger picture and this and that. I get that. Been through it, right? Nevertheless, for me and the way I learn, I'm an inside-out person.
Yeah.
So if I can learn it from the inside, it broadens my perspective, and it helps me
Put it all together.
Put it all together, exactly.
And that is a self-awareness piece, is how do you learn best?
Yeah.
That's what works for you. I learn best by going through it. So then you're able to lead, whether yourself, others, your vision in the direct path that it needs to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I love it. I feel like, my God, this could be a 5-part series doing stuff with you, man. I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
Last two questions.
Sure.
And like I said, I think this is a definite part series I would love to spend more time with, man. You've got so much knowledge and information. The first question I want to ask you is, why do you care so much? As a coach, as somebody who invests so much time into other people, into so much time coaching others to live a fulfilled life, to live a free life, to just maximize your potential. Duane, why do you care so much?
I care so much because I want other people to succeed. I want other people to achieve greatness in whatever it is that they want to accomplish. That like excites me. That gets me so fired up. It's this, when someone gets to where they're trying to go and you have an opportunity or hand to support them to get there, there's nothing greater than that. When I look at all the people that I have been able to learn from, you want to impart that knowledge, right? It's just because you care. You want to, I learned this, and you want to help someone get from point A to point B. The levels, right? Okay. So I've had an opportunity to have my own training centers. I had 3 at my peak. I had an investor, so I learned about venture capital fund. Like, I had a person who invested angel funding, so you learn about that process, right? Mm-hmm. But more importantly, you learn about how they work. Right? So then, business-wise, you're able to take some knowledge and you're able to share that. Somebody's struggling with something. Why do you care? Because you want to help them. I've got some information in terms of what I learned I would love to help you with. Working in the NFL, right? Worked in the NFL 14 years. You're around the best of the best of the best of the best. And there's certain commonalities that you see that contribute to their success. There's certain things you see, but then also on the flip side of it, there's certain things that you see that contribute to someone's demise. And your athletes begin to go through situations that you're working with, you want to help them. Whether it's training business executives. Business executives, it's been really interesting working with that population. They're wired very similar to a professional athlete, and sometimes on the physical side, they can't get out of their own way because they're just used to pushing.
Yeah.
And so for them, helping them to balance their life, helping them, teaching them about recovery and restoration techniques, and teaching them how to reset and live a more fulfilling life is an area that you can help impart them. And from all those previous experiences, right, you can draw on that because you have that desire that you want to help someone. And so the number one goal for me is being able to take what you've learned and share that information that ultimately help them go from here to here.
Pay it forward, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to ask one more question
Sure.
before our last one, because you touched on this. I think it's really important. Of the NFL athletes, the professionals, the executives, if there were 3 to 5, no more than 5, I know there could probably be 50, but say, you know what, these are the 3 to 5 traits, the commonalities that from what you've worked with, all great leaders do have in common, whether that's they wake up early, whatever the case is. In your experience, what are the 3 to 5 max commonalities that you've witnessed that all great leaders have?
All right, so I'm going to tell you one. Be it good or be it bad, it depends on how someone looks at it. It's a maniacal commitment. A maniacal daily commitment to be great.
An obsession, basically.
It's an obsession, man, where you're like, where you as a coach, you're going to coach them, you're going to get better. You're going to get better because they're going to drive you to a point where they're going to drive you crazy.
Ask you questions.
Hey, Coach, well, Coach, how do I look? No, so what do I need to work on? Coach, it's a maniacal obsession, right? And it's just part of their DNA that when you see that, so when you see them on a daily basis, you're
you gotta get ready.
I got to bring my A game, because they're coming, and that's part of. So it's that maniacal obsession.
I love it.
The second thing is, it's the vision, man. It's the ability to align their purpose with their vision. Like they see that vision, and everything they do is aligned to fulfill that vision, right? They may deviate a little bit off the path, but they're always making incremental steps toward achieving that vision. They see it, like they see that picture in their mind in terms of what they want to be, what they want to accomplish, and they move toward that thing. And the third thing is that ability to be self-analytical, right? Okay, there's a difference between when someone moves, you know, there's a movement leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment leader.
Yeah.
Okay? So like the movement leader, they can lead a movement. They're like, hey, look, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and they can get up, they can align other people to move toward that vision.
Yeah.
Right? Then there's that moment leader, and that moment leader, they could be one of the same, highly unlikely, I should say, but this has been my experience. That moment leader is that person that steps up and is like, you know, they're gonna demonstrate that courage when they know it's not right. Nah. Hey, no, you know what? Look, we just need to do boom, boom, boom. We need to be part of the solution as opposed to being part of the problem. They step up. It's like it comes oftentimes from the person you expect the least, right?
Yeah.
But they're that moment leader, and when they speak, it's like E.F. Hutton. Remember that commercial?
Everyone listens.
Everyone's listening.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, man, he just said that, or she just said that. So going back to that third thing, that movement leader, moment leader. I know I started the third point by saying something else, but that just, when you told me I got 3 to 5, that movement leader versus moment leader, that trait that they have is really powerful because they can lead a movement. Like just certain people have a gift, right? You often see when people walk in a room, you're like, oh, man, that person must be somebody.
You feel it.
Right?
Yeah.
You can feel it. They got a presence
Different
about
energy,
themselves. But that presence isn't just exterior related. That presence is, that emanates from kind of who they are.
Yeah.
Right? You just
It's
feel
been building. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I see the people that have that trait, they emanate that. Here's the last thing. I wanted to say this last thing. Excuse me. I'm going to give you an example. 2 people, right? We're in the Bay Area. I'm going to give you 2 people. Alex Smith. When I think about Alex Smith, I think about perseverance. He's year 13 in the league, and the guy's balling out of his mind.
Yes, he is.
I was with him his first 6 years in the league. He was 20 years old when we drafted him, and here was a guy that was, had a lot on his shoulders, man. Number 1 pick, quarterback U here. It's the place where quarterbacks are made.
Yeah.
Greatness for quarterbacks. So he's, compared to a high standard, he went through his bumps, 6 or 7 coordinators in his first 7 years, right? Along comes Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh sees the greatness in Alex Smith, and then you see Alex Smith rise, right? And then only to be taken away, gets a concussion, Kaepernick takes his position, and then Alex Smith goes to Kansas City. And then you see Alex Smith rise again, and he's gotten better, and he keeps getting better, and he keeps getting better. And what I know of him, it's the persistence. Like Alex Smith has got this, he's like this. He's not like this. Right? He's like this.
Consistently
in the calm
persistent.
of the storm,
Yeah.
Consistently persistent, okay? That's Alex Smith. Here's the 5th one, Frank Gore. Frank Gore, here's a guy. When they drafted him, they said Frank Gore is going to have a short shelf life in the NFL. Came in with 2 ACL surgeries and a shoulder injury, right? NFL, we know it stands for not for long. How long they project he play? 3 to 5. If we get this guy for 3 to 5 for a 3rd round pick, we get great value. Year 13.
I know.
The guy's closing in on being the number 5 leading rusher of all time. I'm going to tell you about Frank Gore. He'll get mad for me telling this story, but this is a Frank Gore story. This epitomizes what Frank Gore's all about and when you think about greatness. 2006, he rushed for 1,695 yards, right? 5-point-something yards a carry. Had a phenomenal year, Pro Bowl year, the whole deal. Signed a contract that year. We come into camp for the 2007 season. The second day of camp, he breaks his finger. I have to put him on a bike during practice, and we're on the bike, and Frank Gore's pedaling on the bike, right? And he's like he always smacks his lips when he's upset. And he's like, watch him practice, and he's going, those are my reps. Those are my reps. Man, another man's taking my reps. And I was like, Frankie G, I go, you're good, man. Frankie G, well, hey, you'll be back before you know it. He's like, no, coach, you know how hard I prepared for this? I was like, Frankie G, it's just training camp. Most vets, when guys come off a season that he came off of, they're like, hey,
they don't want
to grind the training camp, right? Hey, get me to the season. But here he is with his helmet on, tears falling down his face. those are my reps, coach. Those are my reps. Man, another man's taking my reps. Like, Frank Gore loves the whole process, the preparation and the performance. Some people, when you talk about the greatness, they just want one piece of it, right? You know, they want
results,
the limelight.
the end,
yeah, man. Hey, get me to the stage.
Yeah.
But Frank Gore saw that the preparation was what facilitated the performance. And because he had poured so much into his preparation, right, it hurt. So my last point here is that the great ones, they have this expectation level that's unwavering. It's unwavering and it's all encompassing. And they have the ability to connect the dots across the board in terms of making sure that all the things are important, that they check those boxes. And when they don't reach that standard, it hurts. And it drives them to a point where, you know what, I'm going to take it to another level. And so with Frank not being able to get on the field during practice, right? And once he calmed down, he started taking those mental reps. He started getting better in other ways.
I want to run through a wall right now, man. I'm like so inspired. I love this. First one, maniacal focus. Second one is having a super crystal clear vision, right? The third one you talked about was being a movement or a moment leader. Be one or the other. Let's take charge or speak up. Have the courage, right?
Yeah.
Fourth one is about being consistent. You told a story about Alex Smith.
Yeah.
And this last one, which I love so much, and I really want people to understand this, because Duane, you and I both know this is so, and I think this is one of the biggest reasons for me personally. I really, when you told me that story about Frank, I'm sitting here saying, where I like throwing constantly more and more stuff on my plate because I love the process. And when I don't have stuff on, if I don't like being comfortable, just like everything's fine, so let's do more. Because the process is so fun. This game, the struggle, the ups and the downs, it keeps us so fresh on our toes to stay educated, stay sharp. That for me, being comfortable and not having this is like, to me that's like failing.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And I love that last piece of just, you know, Frank Gore, you gotta love the process. And the great leaders, I really believe that too. They love it. They love the process. I love learning about stuff like that. It's like, damn, like you would think, man, chill out, you're Pro Bowl, like you got so much money, you're there.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah.
They that's not what fulfills them. It's the day-to-day drive and grind.
Right.
Last thing I want to ask you, man. We talked about it earlier. Two sentence. What are people gonna say about what's Duane Carlisle's legacy as a leader? You said on that tombstone. It's not about,
man,
what is it? What are they, how are you living your life that they're going to remember you by?
I hope that on my tombstone, when people think about my legacy, that someone who wasn't perfect he wasn't perfect, but he worked at his imperfections. And that he was someone who cared about other people more than himself.
I love it, man. And from what I know of you, you are fully living that life, man, as a leader. I can't thank you, not just for being here. I can't thank you for the inspiration you've given me for so many years you didn't know it. Somebody I continue to look up to as a friend now, as a mentor, as a colleague, and somebody who I just learn from, every time we get a chance to meet. So, Duane Carlisle, this is gonna be a series, man. I think we're gonna need to do some more talks. He's got a lot of really, really good stories, man. Story time with Duane. So make sure you check him out, CoachCarlisle.com, and we'll have all his information up. But Coach, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
No, appreciate
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thanks.